Tensions are high as Israel prepares to strike Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly has picked the targets.
And the U.S. State Department is telling all Americans to get out of Lebanon. And even as Israel faces war on several fronts, its citizens are celebrating a major biblical holiday. CBN's Paul Strand reports.
Here in Jerusalem and throughout the world, Jews are celebrating the biblical Feast of Tabernacles, known as Sukkot in Hebrew. Israelis aren't letting the wars affect their celebrations. The difference is many people who would have been here to mark the holy days are gone. Most tourists just are not coming to Israel right now, and so many relatives and friends are off serving their nation in the wars. The most missed are the hostages held in Gaza. Their absence is being marked by this long table set up in Tel Aviv at Hostages Square with place settings for the missing.
On some level, I hope that they can feel that we all love them and we're waiting for them to come home already. It's just been too long. Another Sukkot, a year.
It may be a holy week for the Jews of the world, but the fight against Israel's enemies continues. The last few days, the Israeli military has struck hundreds of Hezbollah targets housing weapons and supplies and blown up hundreds of yards of tunnels. Earlier today, American B-2 bombers struck weapons caches used by Houthi rebels in Yemen. Reports say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has picked targets Israel will hit to retaliate for Iran's massive October 1st missile attack. Such strikes could lead to violence rapidly escalating in the region, so the State Department is urging Americans in already war-torn Lebanon to evacuate. This as Israel is working to comply with a U.S. demand to increase humanitarian aid to Gaza or face a potential weapons embargo. The administration says it's already seeing improvement on the aid front.
We have seen them taking initial steps over the past several days, and we want to see them take additional steps, and the results will be more trucks coming in, more food getting in, more water getting in.
So that day may not come when the U.S. feels the need to cut military aid to its Middle East ally, Israel.
We are not at a point today where we have to make that judgment, and we hope that we never get to that point.
Netanyahu has been sparring with the United Nations over Gaza, Lebanon, and Palestinian statehood. Now French President Emmanuel Macron has made a stunning statement behind closed doors. A French paper reports he said, Netanyahu must not forget that his country was created by a decision of the UN. Netanyahu's office quickly took Macron to task, looking back at 1948 and writing, it was not a UN decision that established the State of Israel, but the victory that was achieved in the War of Independence with the blood of our heroic fighters. Paul Strand, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And it wasn't a decision by the UN, it was actually a decision by the League of Nations following World War I. And it was called the British Mandate. And then people recognized, the international community recognized, that the Jewish people had a right of self-determination, and they had it in their ancestral homeland. And the British were given a mandate to create a Jewish state. That was settled international law before the UN ever came into existence. And to say that somehow or other the UN by fiat can dissolve the nation of Israel, no, it can't. It doesn't have that power. We need to be in prayer for Israel as they face these enemies. The strike against Iran, there are two possible outcomes. One, it could reveal just how defenseless Iran really is. They've had two strikes against Israel in the past 6-7 months. You look at these two strikes, that they both completely failed. Israel has enormous capacity, and what will the targets be, and what will be the overall reaction within the region? Are we going to see now a regional war, or is it going to be evident that Iran doesn't have the ability to defend itself? These are open questions, and they'll be decided on the battlefield. Now the issue is, Israel is winning the war, the battles, but can it win the peace? And that is a whole nother question. In that, the international community needs to understand what we're all facing. They call us, the United States, the great Satan. They call Israel the little Satan. And I've got to ask people in the United States, why in the world would you ever support that ideology? When you look at the surveys, the popular opinion in the West Bank and Gaza, it's amazing to me that you see 70, 80% of the residents there saying they support Hamas. That is unbelievable. When you see in southern Lebanon that Hezbollah owns the territory, the government of Lebanon is sort of a fiction there. The UN peacekeeping force is a fiction there. And that ideology is throughout that culture. In Iran, I don't think the entirety of the population believes in its current theocracy and its current government. But underlying that is a Muslim ideology. And here's what we're facing. They think that any land that is under Sharia law, if it ever gets out of Sharia law, it's the obligation of every Muslim to reestablish Sharia law over that land. That's part of their faith. And that's the underlying ideology of all of this attack, the terrorism, everything we've seen since the War of Independence in '48, a continual battle against the existence of Israel. So how do you win that war? And for me, we need to pray that. You only are going to see that when the Prince of Peace appears on the landscape and he's able to unify all people. That is a wonderful prayer for all Christians, and it's been our prayer since the beginning. Maranatha, come soon, Lord Jesus.
What makes Israel so special? How has Israel overcome history's greatest challenges to not just survive, but thrive? CBN Films answers all of these questions in the new movie, The Genius of Israel. This movie explores Israel's journey through adversity, unity, and innovation. If you want to check out more, go to the link in the description to stream the film today.